Time for the papers. Here's Ollie. I'll make sure I get the right set because I've got the showbiz. So do you want to speak about Simon, Sunita, Cheryl Cole and Catherine Zeta-Jones?
I'd be happy to wing that.
However, first, the kids who were exhausted at these rehearsals for the Commonwealth Games. I mean, yet more problems.
Yeah, the publicity keeps getting worse and worse for the opening of the Commonwealth Games. And this is the story that all the papers have run with today. But of course, there's kind of more complexity around the preparations for the openings, as we've seen in your headline story there. So this is the children who are performing in the opening ceremony. Some of them apparently on the verge of collapse because they were being made to rehearse for hours on end in the sweltering heat without being given water and food. Although the reason they're not being given water and food is because water and food is not allowed in the stadium, which presumably is a security precaution. So you can sort of see how this kind of thing might happen if you're doing your first and only rehearsal. Perhaps this kind of thing, especially when all this palaver has been going on in the background and things going wrong, just wasn't thought about. But still, another PR fail for the Commonwealth Games.
Well, not just a PR fail, I mean, organisational problem. You know, this has been raised by Save the Children's representative there. Why on earth didn't someone think to have water available for children in sweltering heat going through hours of rehearsals? It's just mind-boggling.
It is, although, you know, the papers have gone to the Save the Children person to ask for a quote.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's not the intention of the Games organisers to kill off the children who are performing in the opening ceremony.
That is bad PR.
Yeah. I mean, clearly they would have intended to look after them properly.
But why not just take them out of the stadium and water them there?
Gillian, you should be running the game.
Yeah.
The thing is, right, until we start winning things, this happens with every sporting event, doesn't it? And even despite all the administrative balls-ups, I do kind of think if we start winning some prizes, as we did in China when there was all that fuss about Beijing not being able to organise it or organising it in a corrupt way, as even in Canada with the Winter Olympics when you had that death on the first day there.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
The press coverage does turn around if we start winning prizes.
Too many bored journalists, maybe, that's what it might be. Yeah. OK, Sun, page 17, the rider Kip, meanwhile.
Yeah, more sport. This is... I'm not going to make any jokes about Wales and rain because everyone's already done that. But... and
it's no joke.
But what I find most interesting about this whole thing is Ian Poulter, who's been tweeting. And he's tweeted these pictures of Padraig Harrington, which all of the papers have gone with, taking a kip whilst they wait for the rain to cease. And this is very interesting because, I don't know if you remember, but the England football squad at the World Cup were banned from tweeting during the competition, sort of as if in the old days they used to say you're banned from sexual contact, they're now banned from tweeting. And the reason was people felt that they'd be giving too much kind of behind-the-scenes information, that they wouldn't be concentrating on their game, that there'd be gossip about what's going on in the locker room and what's going on in the hotel room and what's going on in the bars. Golf, above reproach, as we've seen with Tiger Woods, of course. Golfers are allowed to tweet, and you get this kind of photograph, which I think is actually the kind of thing a press journalist could not have taken that photo. Maybe for a glossy magazine that would come out in 3 months' time. It's very candid, it's interesting.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Golfer sleeps on bench. Shock.
You do worry, though, about invasion of privacy, because presumably he didn't give permission for that picture to be taken and then tweeted all over the place.
Who gave you permission to take your shoes off inside the club room? Anyway.
But the kind of access that a journalist simply couldn't have.
Very true, very true. No, it's an awful story about Guatemala and the US having to apologise for the deliberate infection of sexual diseases to test the efficacy of penicillin in the Second World War.
It's one of those. I was just gobsmacked reading this story. Got to page 3 of the Times this morning and sort of had to reread the headline again and again. I know it's a 60-year-old story, so slow news day in a way. But yes, this is the story that in Guatemala in the 1940s, a US medic deliberately infected patients at a mental health facility with syphilis to examine how syphilis spreads, because when they did it, albeit not with voluntary patients either in America, with federal prisoners, but nonetheless above board with federal prisoners in America, they discovered that the people they were testing on weren't prepared, frankly, to be candid about sexual contact, so they couldn't properly trace syphilis. So they did it undercover in Guatemala. And Hillary Clinton, the headline says the US is sorry. She doesn't actually use the word sorry, but it does raise this whole issue about whether nations should apologise for stuff they did 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah, because I mean, we've got the similar arguments about nuclear tests in the South Pacific. LSD and other drugs were used on the US's own servicemen at the time. There was that sort of 1940s to 50s that the scientists took over, it seems, and
the world's attentions were elsewhere, weren't they? And, you know, there were all sorts of human rights abominations going on, of course.
But it has to be said that the Guatemalan authorities did give their permission for these experiments.
Which is even more extraordinary, isn't it? And the whole attitude to mental health and how that's changed. Extraordinary shifts in public perception.
The Guardian, a blow for freedom.
Yes. Jonathan Franzen, the author, his book, Freedom, which has taken him 9 years to write. Fourth Estate, the publishers, unfortunately, apparently it wasn't their fault, it was the typesetters, who are based in Scotland, unfortunately, small company based in Scotland, but apparently the typesetters accidentally submitted the penultimate draft of the book. Thousands of copies were printed.
Without the revisions.
It's littered with grammatical mistakes.
I tell you what, collector's item. Get hold of one of those. It'd be worth a few bob.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? But because the print run was so massive, apparently,
I see.
It will apparently, according to the Rare Books estimate interviewed in The Guardian, the Rare Books expert, sorry, it will double in value. But you're not going to have a £50,000 book just because you've got an original edition, unless you can go around pulping everyone else's.
Yes, and going around and doing all the alterations to the spelling with the ballpoint pen.
But what I love about the story is Jonathan Franzen only realised there was an issue with the book when he was doing a public book reading, and he got to where there should be a full stop and there was a comma or whatever, and he's gone ballistic, basically.
Quite rightly too. Thank you very much indeed for that, Ollie, and we shall see you soon. Thanks for coming in.